For centuries, outsiders believed there was only one way to preserve food: salt it, seal it, or let it rot. They assumed survival required metal tools, airtight containers, and eventually refrigeration. Anything else felt crude, temporary, unsafe. Early explorers wrote it plainly. If meat wasn't salted, it would spoil. If fish wasn't packed in barrels, it would be lost. If plants weren't stored in cool cellars, they would decay. So when outsiders saw native people hanging strips of meat in open air, laying fish beneath the sun, spreading berries across woven racks, they laughed. They mocked. They dismissed it as careless. They assumed hunger would follow. But long before anyone questioned that belief, native people had already solved the problem. Imagine standing on the northern plains as summer begins to tilt toward fall. The wind carries warmth now, but it won't for long. You know what's coming. You are a winter food preparer. Not by title, but by necessity. Around you, the land stretches wide. Grasslands ripple under the sky. Bison move in the distance. Deer, elk, prairie birds, all present now, all uncertain later. Winter here does not arrive gently. It crashes in. Temperatures will fall far below freezing. Snow will erase trails. Game will scatter or grow scarce. Plants will disappear into frozen ground. And when winter comes, there will be no second chances. If food fails, children weaken first. Elders go next. Families disappear quietly. You are not preparing meals. You are preparing months of life. Every movement matters. Every mistake carries weight. This knowledge does not belong to you alone. It was handed to you by hands that survived before you. And now it must pass through yours. Because the moment is coming. The hunt will succeed. The harvest will be rich. And then everything depends on what you do next. The bison is down. The air smells of iron and grass. The work begins immediately. You do not wait. You cannot. Heat is the enemy now. You cut the meat thin. Very thin. Strips no thicker than a finger. Uniform. Deliberate. Thick meat rots from the inside. Thin meat dries evenly. Outsiders never understood this. They saw waste. You see airflow. The strips are lifted onto wooden frames. Not stacked. Not touching. The sun does the first work. The wind finishes it. Days pass. During daylight, warmth pulls moisture outward. At night, cool air tightens the fibers. This rhythm matters. Too much heat and the fat spoils. Too little and mold creeps in. You watch constantly. You smell the meat. You feel its surface. You listen to the sound it makes when bent. Fresh meat is soft. Spoiling meat is slick. Drying meat resists, then cracks slightly. This is not guesswork. It is learned with the body. Fish follow the same law. They are split open along the spine. Pinned flat. Exposed fully to air. Smoke enters next. Not to cook, but to protect. The smoke is cool, not hot. It carries compounds that repel insects and slow bacteria. A thin, steady flow for days. Not hours. Days. Outsiders assumed fire meant cooking. They never imagined fire as preservation without heat. Berries come last. Chokecherries. Buffalo berries. Plums. They are spread across hides or woven mats. Turned daily. Protected from moisture. The skins wrinkle. Sugars concentrate. Flavor deepens. What emerges is not fragile food. It is dense, lightweight, stable. Now comes the test. You pound dried meat with stone tools. Slow, rhythmic. You add rendered fat, already purified, already clean. You mix in dried berries. The result binds. Pemmican. Calorie dense. Protein rich. Shelf stable for months. Sometimes years. A single pound can sustain a person for an entire day of travel. Outsiders later carried it across continents without understanding its origin. But here, now, you test it the only way that matters. Time. Winter arrives. Weeks pass. The food holds. No rot. No sickness. No waste. At one point, moisture seeps into a storage bag. You fear it's over. You open it. Inspect carefully. The smell is clean. The texture firm. It survived. This is the moment outsiders never saw. The waiting. The silence. The proof. And it works. If you find this kind of forgotten human knowledge as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you hit the subscribe button. These are not just stories, they are solutions humanity once depended on. And by subscribing, you help ensure they aren't forgotten. Outsiders mocked because they didn't understand the system. Drying removes water, bacteria need water. Smoking adds protection, insects and microbes retreat. Fat seals nutrients, oxidation slows. Cold finishes the job, freezing stabilizes everything. No metal, no salt barrels, no refrigeration, just physics, biology, observation, and centuries of refinement. What outsiders didn't realize was that this wasn't just food storage. It was freedom. Lightweight preserved food meant migration without starvation. It meant trade across long distances. It meant elders could be fed when hunting failed. It meant children survived winters their bodies weren't built for yet. This knowledge shaped movement. It shaped trade networks. It shaped survival itself. The true significance wouldn't be understood until much later, when explorers, trappers, and traders began relying on native dried foods to survive landscapes they were unprepared for. The very method they mocked became the reason they lived. Generations endured because this knowledge scaled. It adapted to climate. It traveled with people. It never failed, because it was built on understanding, not convenience. Return now to the hands that learned this first. They learned by watching, by failing safely under guidance, by listening. Much of this knowledge was nearly erased, dismissed as outdated once machines arrived. But it never stopped working. Today, modern food systems rediscover drying, smoking, and fermentation. They rename them. They patent them. But the answers were already here. This matters now because resilience matters again. Because food systems break. Because memory fades. And because survival is not about dominance, it is about respect for what works. So remember this. They weren't guessing. They weren't improvising. They weren't lucky. These weren't tricks. They were answers. And for centuries they kept people alive. If this story mattered to you, please like this video. Subscribe and turn on notifications so these stories continue. And let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? Because remembering is also a form of survival.